In the early 20th century, a sick child was a child in isolation. To prevent infection, hospitals routinely banned parents from the wards, leaving toddlers to recover in a sterile, lonely environment. At the time, the dominant theory was behaviorism. It argued that a child's bond with their mother was a simple learned response, a cupboard love that existed only because the mother provided food. Meanwhile, the psychoanalytic establishment insisted that any emotional distress a child showed wasn't a reaction to the real world, but rather a product of their own internal drives and fantasies. These theories turned mothers into interchangeable biological functions. If the mother was just a food source or a projection of fantasy, then removing her from the hospital room shouldn't actually hurt the child. This wasn't just a scientific oversight. By ignoring the observable reality of a child's suffering, the medical establishment was institutionalizing trauma. This consensus began to crack when psychiatrist John Bowlby started studying a group of 44 teenage thieves at a London clinic. They were described as affectionless, showing almost no empathy or remorse. When Bowlby examined their case histories, he found that 17 of them had been separated from their mothers for long periods before the age of 5. Bowlby's colleagues remained skeptical. They were so committed to the idea of internal fantasy that they refused to believe a child's actual history of maternal loss could dictate their mental health as an adult. The evidence became undeniable when Bowlby's associate, James Robertson, used a covert camera to film children in hospitals. The footage showed toddlers in a state of profound, visible grief that no theory of internal fantasy could explain. Seeing that psychology was blind to the facts of human bonding, Bowlby realized he had to look elsewhere, to the natural world, to find a biological explanation for love. Bowlby turned to ethology, the study of animal behavior. He observed that young birds would follow their mothers immediately after hatching, even if the mother never provided them with a single scrap of food. He realized that humans possess a similar attachment behavioral system. This innate program, evolved over millions of years, drives an infant to seek safety. This system works like a biological thermostat. Its sole goal is to maintain a specific degree of proximity between the infant and a specific caregiver. When the infant senses a threat, the system activates, driving them to find a secure base. In the wild, staying close to that base was the only way to avoid predators. This drive has nothing to do with being fed. It is a standalone biological system designed for protection, not nutrition. This discovery shifted the entire understanding of human nature. Connection was no longer a luxury or a learned behavior. It was a primary survival need. Theory alone wasn't enough to convince the scientific community. It took Mary Ainsworth to turn Bowlby's biological insights into a measurable experiment. Ainsworth developed the strange situation, a lab procedure using brief separations and reunions to see how an infant's attachment system responded to stress. She discovered that an infant's behavior during these reunions was a direct reflection of how their mother had responded to them at home. Sensitive, consistent care led to a secure strategy. Inconsistent care led to insecurity. These experiences are encoded as internal working models. These are mental blueprints that tell the child's brain what to expect from other people and how to react to get their needs met. For the first time, researchers could see how a mother's sensitivity was actively organizing the psychological structure of her child's mind. By the 1980s, the research took another leap. Longitudinal studies revealed that the attachment styles formed in the nursery didn't disappear. They followed children into adulthood. Infancy models become templates for adult romance. We see the same patterns repeat: the balanced secure, the clinging anxious, and the distant avoidant. These filters automatically shape how we interpret a partner's silence, ask for support, and tolerate intimacy. This research suggested a deterministic future, that those who were denied a secure bond as infants were effectively wired for relationship struggle for the rest of their lives. If our capacity for connection is set before we can even speak, is it possible to ever truly change who we are? The answer came from Mary Main and the Adult Attachment Interview. By asking adults to narrate their childhoods, she found something the early models couldn't explain. Main identified a group of people who had survived objectively traumatic or neglectful childhoods, yet they were now showing up as securely attached adults. She called this earned security. These individuals didn't just move past their history, they used self-reflection and corrective relationships to make sense of it, building a coherent story out of their past. This process of making sense of one's story changes how the nervous system operates. People with earned security eventually show biological stress responses and emotional regulation patterns comparable to those who were secure since birth. Attachment theory moved psychology from speculative fantasies towards a biological science of connection. It proves that while our earliest bonds shape us, they do not finish writing our story. We possess the lifelong capacity to rewrite how we love.